When Maya returned the black card to the silver-haired billionaire dining alone, she never expected him to push it back with 5 words that would shatter her world. Keep it and buy something. The decision she makes in the next 60 seconds will determine not just her desperate financial future, but the legacy of a dying man worth billions, and the lives of countless others trapped by circumstance. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment where in the world you're watching from. Let's go. Sometimes life changes in an instant. For Maya Winters, that moment came on a rainy Tuesday evening when she was just trying to survive another dinner shift at Bellagio's, an upscale restaurant where billionaires dined without blinking at the prices, while she calculated if she could afford both rent and her sister's medication this month. The dining room buzzed with muted conversations and the gentle clink of fine crystal. Chandeliers cast a warm golden glow over tables draped in pristine white linen. Maya moved efficiently between tables, her posture perfect, her smile professional, despite the growing ache in her feet. 6 years of serving the ultra-wealthy had taught her invisibility was an art form. The perfect server was present when needed, and invisible otherwise. At table 16 sat Malcolm Reed, though Maya didn't recognize him at first. At 72, with silver hair and a tailored suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary, he looked like dozens of other wealthy patrons. Only the quiet authority in his eyes hinted at his status as one of the country's most successful venture capitalists, a man who had transformed failing companies into billion-dollar enterprises with seemingly magical precision. Just the filet, medium rare, and a glass of the Barolo, he told Maya, barely glancing up from his phone. He was dining alone, something Maya had noted when she first approached the table. No trophy wife, no eager business associates hanging on his every word, just a solitary figure surrounded by empty chairs. Excellent choice, sir, Maya responded, collecting his menu with practiced grace. As she turned to leave, she noticed the slight tremor in his hand as he set down his phone. A flicker of something crossed his face, not pain exactly, but a weariness that transcended physical exhaustion. For a fraction of a second, their eyes met. Maya saw something unexpected. Loneliness. It vanished so quickly she might have imagined it, but in that brief moment, Malcolm Reed wasn't a billionaire. He was just an aging man dining alone on a rainy Tuesday evening. Maya delivered his order to the kitchen and continued attending to her other tables. A boisterous group of financial analysts celebrating a promotion, a quiet couple clearly on an awkward first date, a family with impeccably behaved children who whispered please and thank you with practiced precision. When Maya returned with Malcolm's meal, she noticed he'd set aside his phone. "Can I get you anything else, sir?" she asked, placing the perfectly cooked steak before him. "No, this is fine," he replied, his tone dismissive but not unkind. Then unexpectedly he added, "You're very good at this." Caught off guard by the personal observation, Maya responded with a simple, "Thank you, sir." "How long have you worked here?" he asked, cutting into his steak with surgical precision. "Almost 6 years," Maya answered, surprised by his interest. He nodded, as if confirming a theory. 6 years, and still a floor server. Either management is blind or you want to be here. The observation was uncomfortably perceptible. Maya maintained her professional smile. "The hours work well with my schedule. I'm in graduate school. What field?" His questions were direct, his gaze suddenly focused entirely on her. "Environmental law," Maya replied, wondering why this billionaire was suddenly interested in her life. "If you'll excuse me, I should check on my other tables." Malcolm nodded and returned his attention to his meal. Maya continued her carefully choreographed dance around the dining room, refilling water glasses, delivering desserts, processing payments. When she returned to clear Malcolm's plate, he was once again absorbed in his phone. "Would you care for dessert or coffee, sir?" Maya asked. "Just the check," he replied without looking up. Maya placed the leather folder on the table and moved away to give him privacy. From across the room, she watched as he opened the folder, reached into his jacket pocket and frowned. He patted his other pockets with growing concern. Maya approached the table. "Is everything all right, sir? I seem to have misplaced my wallet," he said, his voice tight with embarrassment. "I had it when I arrived. Perhaps it fell under the table," Maya suggested, already bending to look. The restaurant had strict policies about unpaid bills, and she didn't want this to escalate. They both searched the immediate area without success. Malcolm's expression darkened. "This is unacceptable. I never misplace things. It happens to everyone," Maya offered gently. "Would you like me to call someone for you? Or perhaps you have another form of payment?" Malcolm's jaw tightened. Maya could see his mind working, calculating options, unused to being in a position of disadvantage. "Sir," Maya said quietly, making a decision that could cost her job. "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of the bill." Malcolm looked at her sharply. "You'll what?" "I'll cover it," Maya repeated, already mentally calculating which bills would have to wait this month. "You can return tomorrow or call with payment information." Before he could respond, another server approached Maya. "Maya, is this your customers? We found it in the men's room." In her hand was a sleek black wallet. Relief washed over Malcolm's face. "Yes. That's mine, thank you." The server handed it to him and departed. Malcolm opened the wallet and extracted a black card, the kind with no spending limit, made of actual metal, heavier than normal cards. He placed it in the leather folder and handed it to Maya. When Maya returned with his receipt, Malcolm was standing, preparing to leave. "Thank you for your assistance tonight," he said formally. "My pleasure, sir. Have a good evening." Maya turned to attend to another table when Malcolm spoke again. "You were willing to pay for my dinner." "Why?" Maya hesitated. "You seemed like you were having a difficult evening, and I imagine you would have made it right." Malcolm studied her as if she were a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. "What's your name?" "Maya Winters." "Environmental law." He repeated her earlier words. "That's an expensive field." Maya nodded but offered no further explanation about her financial struggles or her sister's chronic illness that drained what little savings she managed to accumulate. Malcolm reached into his pocket and pulled out his black card again, holding it out. "Take it." Maya stared at the card, confusion evident on her face. "I'm sorry?" "Take the card. Use it to buy whatever you need. Books, tuition, anything." Maya took an instinctive step back. "Sir, I can't accept that." "Why not?" "Because it's inappropriate and probably illegal." A hint of amusement crossed Malcolm's face. "I'm not giving you a stolen card. I'm authorizing you to use it." "But why?" Maya asked, genuinely baffled. Malcolm's expression softened slightly. "Because you were willing to cover a $300 dinner bill for a stranger when I suspect you can barely afford your own expenses. That kind of integrity is rare, Miss Winters. I appreciate the gesture." "Sir, but I really can't." "Take it," he insisted, his tone making it clear he wasn't accustomed to having his offers rejected. "Consider it an investment in your future." The card gleamed in the chandelier light, a rectangle of limitless possibility hovering between them. Maya's mind raced. This had to be some kind of trick or test. Things like this didn't happen in real life, and certainly not to people like her. "Sir, I truly appreciate it, but I can't accept." "Thank you for the generous offer, though." Malcolm didn't withdraw his hand. "Miss Winters, let me be clear. This isn't charity, this is recognition of character. I've made billions identifying potential where others see nothing. You have potential." Maya's heart raced. The implications were staggering. What could she do with access to that kind of money, even temporarily? Pay off her student loans? Cover her sister's medical bills? Finally fix the perpetually leaking roof in the apartment she shared with 2 roommates? "Take it," Malcolm said again, softer this time. "Buy something, anything, then return it." He pulled a business card from his pocket and placed it on the table. "My private number. Call when you're done." Maya found herself reaching for the black card before she fully processed her decision. It felt substantial in her hand, heavier than regular plastic. "Thank you," she whispered, still unable to fully believe what was happening. Malcolm nodded once, decisively. "Don't thank me yet. We'll see what you do with it." With that cryptic statement, he turned and walked away, leaving Maya standing beneath the glittering chandelier, holding a black card with no spending limit and wondering if she had just made the best decision of her life or the worst. What she didn't know was that Malcolm Reed never did anything without a reason, and he had been watching her long before tonight. Maya stood frozen beneath the chandelier, the weight of the black card in her palm both thrilling and terrifying. Around her, the restaurant continued, its elegant rhythm servers gliding between tables, the soft murmur of conversation, the gentle clink of silverware against fine china. But Maya felt disconnected from it all, as if she'd stepped into an alternate reality. Earth to Maya, Zoe, her fellow server, nudged her shoulder. "Table 12 needs their check." Blinking rapidly, Maya slipped the black card into her apron pocket. "Right, sorry." For the remainder of her shift, the card seemed to burn against her thigh. Every movement reminded her of its presence, a secret, impossible weight. She moved mechanically through her duties, her mind spinning with possibilities and warnings in equal measure. When her shift finally ended at 11, Maya retreated to the employee lounge and sank onto a bench, extracting the card from her pocket. In the harsh fluorescent light, she examined it properly for the first time. Sleek, matte black metal with Malcolm Reed's name embossed in silver letters. No spending limit, a door to a world she'd only glimpsed through the polished windows of restaurants like Bellagio's. "What's that?" Zoe asked, appearing suddenly beside her. "Wait, is that a Centurion card? Where did you get that?" Maya quickly tucked it away. "It's nothing. Just something I'm holding for someone." Zoe raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. "Whatever you say. Need a ride home? Good, thanks." After changing out of her uniform, Maya stepped into the cool night air. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets gleaming under streetlights. She began the 20-minute walk to her apartment, each step punctuated by an internal debate. Use the card. Don't use the card. It's a trick. It's an opportunity. You'll regret it. You'll regret not using it. By the time she reached her apartment building, a 6-story walk-up with perpetually broken elevators and hallways that smelled vaguely of cabbage, Maya had cycled through every scenario. She climbed the 4 flights to her unit, unlocked the 3 deadbolts, and slipped inside. The apartment was dark except for a sliver of light under her roommate Jen's door. Maya moved quietly to her own room, a converted dining nook barely large enough for a twin bed and a desk. She changed into sweatpants and an old t-shirt, then sat cross-legged on her bed. Malcolm's black card and business card laid out before her. She pulled out her phone and Googled him. Thousands of results appeared instantly. Malcolm Reed, founder of Reed Ventures. Net worth estimated at $8.7 billion. Articles about his business acumen, his private island, his reputation for eccentric behavior. Nothing that explained why he would hand his black card to a server. Maya picked up her phone again and dialed her sister. "Hey," Lily answered on the 3rd ring, her voice raspy with sleep. "Everything okay? Did I wake you? I'm sorry. It's fine. Just fell asleep watching Netflix. What's up?" Maya hesitated. If someone offered you something that seemed too good to be true, but could solve all your problems, ... would you take it? That depends, Lily said. Are we talking Nigerian prince wants to give you millions too good to be true, or unexpected job offer too good to be true? Somewhere in between, Maya admitted. Is it illegal? Maya considered this. I don't think so. Not technically. Just ... Unusual? Does it involve you compromising your values? No, at least I don't think so. Lily was quiet for a moment. Maya, what's going on? Maya took a deep breath. A customer at the restaurant gave me his credit card, told me to use it to buy whatever I need and then return it to him. What? Who does that? A billionaire, apparently? Maya stared at the black card. He said it wasn't charity, called it an investment in potential or something that's ... weird, and honestly, kinda creepy. What does he expect in return? That's just it. He didn't say. Just told me to call when I was done. Maya, this sounds sketchy as hell. You should give it back immediately. Maya flopped back on her pillow. I know that's the sensible thing to do. But Lily ... do you know what I could do with this card? I could pay off your medical bills, pay my tuition. Hell, I could buy us a house, and then what? Go to prison for credit card fraud? He gave it to me. He literally told me to use it. People say a lot of things. Without something in writing, his word against yours wouldn't hold up very well. Maya knew her sister was right. The logical part of her brain was screaming the same warning. And yet, what if this is one of those moments, Maya asked softly, one of those life-changing opportunities people always talk about? What if saying no is the biggest mistake I could make? Lily sighed. Just ... be careful, okay? Promise me you won't do anything rash, I promise. After hanging up, Maya stared at the ceiling. Malcolm Reed's words echoing in her mind. Don't thank me yet. We'll see what you do with it. It was a test. But what kind of test, and what would passing look like? Morning came with no clarity. Maya had slept fitfully, dreams filled with endless shopping sprees that morphed into handcuffs and prison cells. She dressed mechanically for her 8 a.m. class, tucking both Malcolm's card and business card into her wallet before heading to campus. Professor Harmon's lecture on environmental policy frameworks barely penetrated her consciousness. Instead, Maya's mind kept returning to the black card, mentally calculating the mountain of debt crushing her family. Lily's multiple sclerosis treatments cost thousands each month, even with insurance. Their parents had depleted their savings before the car accident that took their lives 3 years ago. Since then, Maya had been Lily's primary caretaker, juggling school, work, and medical appointments with grim determination. Miss Winters? Maya jolted back to the present. Professor Harmon was looking at her expectantly along with the rest of the class. Sorry, could you repeat the question? Maya asked, heat rising to her cheeks. I asked which Supreme Court case established the precedent for federal regulation of interstate water pollution. Milwaukee v. Illinois 1981, Maya answered, relief flooding her as Harmon nodded and moved on. After class, Maya walked to the campus coffee shop, ordered the cheapest item on the menu, plain black coffee, and sat by the window. She pulled out the black card again, turning it over in her finger. What would she even buy? The question had haunted her all night. If she used the card, it had to be for something meaningful, something that would change her life trajectory. Not just a temporary band-aid, but what? Her phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Any decisions about that weird situation? Maya stared at the message, then at the card, then out at the campus quad where students lounged on manicured lawns. Many from families who never had to choose between textbooks and medicine, between paying rent and eating properly. A decision crystallized in her mind. Sudden and clear, she pulled out Malcolm's business card and dialed the number before she could second-guess herself. He answered on the second ring. Malcolm Reed. Mr. Reed, this is Maya Winters from Bellagio's. Ms. Winters. His voice betrayed no surprise. That was faster than I expected. I'd like to meet with you, sir. To return your card. Without using it? A note of curiosity entered his voice. I'd rather discuss that in person if that's all right. There was a brief pause. Very well. My office, Red Tower, 4 p.m. today. Thank you, sir. I'll be there. Maya ended the call, a strange calm settling over her. She knew what she needed to do now. This wasn't about money or opportunity, it was about integrity. Her own integrity. At 3:45 p.m., Maya stood in the soaring lobby of Reed Tower, a gleaming monument to capitalism that dominated the city skyline. She had changed into her best outfit, a simple navy dress and blazer she wore for mock trials, but still felt painfully out of place. Among the sleek executives striding purposefully across marble floors, Maya Winters for Malcolm Reed, she told the reception desk, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. The receptionist didn't bat an eye, simply directed her to a private elevator that required a key card. Reed is expecting you. Top floor. As the elevator ascended 60 floors in near silence, Maya rehearsed what she would say. The doors opened directly into a vast office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Malcolm Reed stood by the glass wall, hands clasped behind his back, watching her arrival with the same penetrating gaze she remembered from the restaurant. Ms. Winters, he greeted her, not moving from his position. Welcome. Maya crossed the expanse of pristine carpet until she stood before him. Without preamble, she extended her hand, the black card resting on her palm. I'm returning this, Mr. Reed, she said, her voice steadier than she expected. Unused. Malcolm's expression remained unreadable as he looked at the card in Maya's outstretched hand. The silence stretched between them, filling the vast office. Outside the windows, the city sprawled beneath them, buildings catching the late afternoon sun like gold coins scattered across the landscape. Interesting, he finally said, making no move to take the card. Most people would have used it. I'm not most people, Maya replied, still holding the card out. Clearly, a hint of a smile touched his lips. Tell me why. Maya lowered her hand slightly. Excuse me? Why didn't you use it? You have student loans, I assume. Medical bills for your sister's MS treatments. A leaking roof in that apartment you share with 2 roommates in Hamilton Heights. A chill ran down Maya's spine. How do you know about my sister? I make it my business to know things, Ms. Winters. He gestured to a seating area, 2 sleek leather chairs positioned around a glass coffee table. Please sit. Maya hesitated, then moved to one of the chairs, perching on its edge. Malcolm sat across from her, completely at ease. I researched you after our encounter, he continued. Orphaned at 19 when your parents died in a car accident on the I-87, you became your sister's legal guardian despite being barely an adult yourself. You deferred your acceptance to Columbia Law for 2 years to stabilize your situation, working 3 jobs simultaneously. And now you're in your 2nd year, maintaining a 3.8 GPA while working 30 hours a week. Maya's heart hammered in her chest. That's invasive. That's business. Malcolm countered smoothly. I don't make investments without due diligence. I'm not an investment opportunity. Mr. Reed, I'm a person. He leaned forward slightly. Everyone is both, Ms. Winters. The question is whether they recognize their own value. He nodded toward the card still in her hand. You still haven't answered my question. Why didn't you use it? Maya set the card on the table between them. Because I don't understand what's being offered, or what's expected in return. In my experience, nothing comes without strings. A prudent perspective, and Maya continued, gathering courage. Because I don't need your charity at this. Malcolm actually laughed, a short, surprised sound. Charity? Ms. Winters? I haven't given to charity since 1997, when I discovered the organization's CEO was using donations to fund his vacation home in Belize. He shook his head. No, this isn't charity. What is it? Malcolm studied her for a long moment. It's a test. A test of what? Character? Judgment? Potential? He stood and walked to a cabinet, retrieving 2 glasses and a crystal decanter. Drink? No, thank you. He poured himself a measure of amber liquid. Do you know what the difference is between the wealthy and the poor, Miss Winters? Maya stiffened. I imagine you're going to tell me it's hard work and determination. Despite the fact that my mother worked 60-hour weeks cleaning hotel rooms and died with less than $1,000 to her name. Malcolm returned to his seat, swirling the liquid in his glass. No, the difference is leverage. The ability to use other people's money, other people's time, other people's resources to achieve your goals. He took a sip. The poor exchange time for money in a linear relationship. The wealthy create exponential returns through leverage. Maya frowned. What does this have to do with your credit card? Everything. He set his glass down with precision. I wanted to see what you would do with unlimited financial leverage, whether you would squander it on immediate needs or use it strategically. By not using it at all? Which brings us back to the question, why didn't you? Maya took a deep breath. Because anything I bought would have been temporary. A month of treatments for Lily. A semester's tuition, new furniture, but then what? I'd be right back where I started, except now I'd owe you. Debt to someone like you seems dangerous. For the first time, genuine approval flickered across Malcolm's face. Smart girl. I'm 24 years old, Mr. Reed. I'm not a girl. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. My apologies. Smart woman. Maya stood, smoothing her dress. Thank you for your time, Mr. Reed. I should get going. Sit down, Ems. Winters. We're not finished. Something in his tone, not threatened, but absolutely certain he would be obeyed, made Maya lower herself back into the chair. Malcolm leaned forward. You passed the test. I don't understand by refusing the card. You demonstrated something rare, the ability to defer immediate gratification in favor of long-term strategic thinking. You recognized the trap of temporary solutions. His eyes gleamed with intensity. Do you know how many people I've offered that card to over the years? Maya shook her head. 17. Do you know how many returned it unused? How many? 3, including you. Maya absorbed this information, unsure how to respond. What happened to the others? Most maxed it out within days. Designer clothes, sports cars, down payments on houses they couldn't afford to maintain. One young man, a promising programmer, spent $80,000 at a casino in a single weekend. Malcolm shook his head. They mistook access for achievement. And the other 2 who didn't use it? Malcolm's expression softened marginally. One is now my chief operations officer. The other runs our European division. The implication hung in the air between them. Maya swallowed hard. Mr. Reed, I'm still in law school. I'm not qualified to. I'm not offering you a job, Malcolm interrupted. Not yet. I'm offering you an opportunity. What kind of opportunity? Malcolm reached into his jacket and withdrew an envelope, placing it on the table beside the black card. An investment. In you. Maya eyed the envelope warily. I don't understand. Inside is a cashier's check for $250,000. It's yours. No strings attached. Maya's breath caught. That's insane, is it? Consider it seed funding for your future. Why would you give me that kind of money? Malcolm leaned back, studying her. Because people like you, people with intelligence, integrity, and drive are rare. Because systems are designed to keep people like you trapped in cycles of survival, never able to build the leverage you need to truly succeed. Because I'm 72 years old with no children and more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. He picked up his drink. And because I'm curious to see what you'll do with it. Maya's mind raced. $250,000. It wasn't just life-changing money, it was life-transforming. It could pay for Lily's treatments for years, cover her law school entirely, provide actual stability. What's the catch? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. No catch, no obligation to me. The money is yours to use however you see fit. I don't believe you. Malcolm's mouth quirked. Smart. There is one condition. I knew it, Maya muttered. In 5 years, you must do the same for someone else. Not the same amount, whatever 20% of your net worth is at that time. You identify someone with potential, someone trapped by circumstance rather than capability, and you give them the leverage to break free. Maya blinked. That's it? That's it. A chain of obligation, but not to meet to the future. He pushed the envelope toward her. Think of it as a grant, not charity. An investment in human potential. Maya stared at the envelope, her thoughts a hurricane. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. And yet, why me, she asked. Out of all the servers you've encountered, all the students struggling to make ends meet, why single me out? Malcolm was quiet for a moment. My wife, Eleanor, died last year. Pancreatic cancer. 43 years together. His voice remained steady, but Maya caught a flicker of profound loss in his eyes. She was a waitress when I met her, working her way through college, brilliant and determined and kind. He twisted the wedding band he still wore. The night I met you, when you offered to pay my bill, it reminded me of her. The admission hung in the air. A rare glimpse of humanity behind the billionaire facade. I'm sorry for your loss, Maya said softly. Malcolm nodded once, sharply, as if closing a door on the moment of vulnerability. This isn't about sentimentality. You proved yourself through your actions. The opportunity is earned, not given. Maya took a deep breath and reached for the envelope. Its weight felt significant in her hands. Impossibly heavy with potential. Thank you, she said, her voice steadier than she expected. I won't waste this. I know you won't. Malcolm stood, signaling the meeting was concluding. One last thing, Ms. Winters. Yes, this conversation never happened. As far as anyone knows, you received a scholarship. The source of the funds remains anonymous. I don't need the publicity and you don't need the questions. Maya nodded, tucking the envelope into her bag. I understand. Good. Malcolm extended his hand. I look forward to seeing what you build, Maya Winters. She shook his hand, his grip firm and dry. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Reed. As the private elevator descended, Maya leaned against the wall, her legs suddenly weak. The envelope in her bag felt like it might burn a hole through the fabric. By the time she reached the lobby, she had already begun mentally allocating the fund's medical trust for Lily, tuition covered, a small but secure apartment. Outside Reed Tower, Maya paused on the steps. Looking up at the gleaming skyscraper reaching toward the clouds, she thought about Malcolm's words about leverage, about breaking cycles, about passing opportunity forward. For the first time in years, Maya felt something unfamiliar unfurling in her chest. Not just hope, but possibility. The crushing weight of survival that had pressed down on her for so long lifted slightly, allowing her to glimpse a future beyond just making it through another day, another month, another semester. She took a deep breath of city air and began walking toward the subway, already planning her next move. Not just for tomorrow, but for 5 years from now, when it would be her turn to pass the gift forward. Maya didn't go directly home. Instead, she found herself walking to Riverside Park, the envelope secure in her crossbody bag, pressed against her side like a secret. She needed space to think, to breathe, to process the impossible thing that had just happened. Finding an empty bench overlooking the Hudson River, she sat down and watched the water shimmer in the fading daylight. The reality of her situation slowly sank in. $250,000. Hers. No strings attached, except for one promise to pay it forward in 5 years. She pulled out her phone, opened her banking app, and looked at her current balance. $427.83. Not enough for next month's rent, let alone Lily's medication copay. For years, she'd been treading water, barely keeping their heads above the surface. And now, with a single conversation, everything had changed. Maya wasn't naive. She knew money couldn't solve everything, but it could solve the specific grinding problems that had consumed her life, the constant calculations of which bill to pay first. The anxiety about Lily's health insurance caps, the exhaustion of working while maintaining a full-course load. She took out the envelope again, ran her fingers along its sealed edge. It felt surreal, like a dream she would wake from at any moment. But the weight of the paper was undeniably real, as was Malcolm Reed's penetrating gaze when he'd handed it to her. Finally, Maya stood and headed for the nearest bank branch. She needed to deposit the check before she could second-guess herself any further. The teller's eyes widened slightly when she processed the deposit, but Maya had prepared her story of scholarship for law students with exceptional circumstances. The woman congratulated her and completed the transaction, informing Maya the funds would be available in 3 business days due to the size of the deposit. Walking out of the bank, Maya felt strangely hollow. She'd expected to feel elated, unburdened. Instead, she felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. This money wasn't just a gift, it was a challenge. What would she do with this leverage Malcolm had spoken about? By the time Maya reached her apartment, she had formulated the beginnings of a plan. She unlocked the door to find Lily sitting at their small kitchen table, textbooks spread around her laptop. Despite her illness, Lily had persisted with her online psychology degree, determined to eventually work with chronically ill teenagers. Hey, Lily said, looking up with a smile that faded when she saw Maya's expression. What happened? You look like you've seen a ghost. Maya set her bag on the counter and sank into a chair opposite her sister. Something happened. Something big. She recounted her meeting with Malcolm. watching Lily's expression shift from skepticism to disbelief to cautious hope. "So it's real?" Lily asked when Maya finished. "You actually have a check for $250,000? It's deposited. The money will be available by Monday." Lily leaned back in her chair, her hands trembling slightly, a recent symptom of her M's that she tried to hide. "I don't understand. People don't just give away money like that. He said it was an investment in human potential, that he wants me to do the same for someone else in 5 years. And you believe him? That there's really no catch?" Maya considered this. "I think I do. He seemed genuine. Sad, actually. He mentioned his wife died last year." Lily's eyes narrowed. "Maya, you're not some replacement for his dead wife, are you? This isn't heading towards some creepy sugar daddy situation." "God, no," Maya said firmly. "It wasn't like that at all. There was no hint of anything inappropriate. It was purely business, almost cold, actually." "So what now?" Lily asked. "What are we going to do with all that money?" Maya pulled out the notebook where she'd started sketching her plan during the subway ride home. "First, we set up a medical trust for your treatments and medications, something that can't be touched by anything else." Lily started to protest, but Maya held up a hand. "This isn't negotiable. Your health comes first. Second, I pay my tuition through graduation. Third, we move to a better apartment, not extravagant, but something accessible for your bad days. With no roommates and no leaky roof." "That still leaves a lot of money," Lily observed. "The rest gets invested," Maya said decisively. "I've been researching investment strategies for one of my classes. With proper management, we can grow this seed money. Malcolm talked about leverage, using this initial capital to create something bigger." Lily smiled softly. "Listen to you. Yesterday you were worried about making rent, and today you're talking about investment strategies. I know it sounds crazy." Maya ran a hand through her hair. "But I keep thinking about what he said about breaking cycles and creating exponential returns. What if this really is my chance to build something meaningful?" "I think it is." Lily reached across the table to squeeze her hand. "You deserve this, Maya. After everything you've sacrificed for me." "Don't," Maya interrupted gently. "You'd have done the same for me. We're family." "Still," Lily insisted. "You put your life on hold for me, your dreams. Now you don't have to choose anymore." Maya felt tears threatening. "We don't have to choose. That's what this means. You can get the treatments you need without us bankrupting ourselves. I can finish law school without working myself to exhaustion. We can breathe." That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Maya sat at the kitchen table with her laptop, meticulously researching financial advisors who specialized in first-generation wealth management. She found one, Sophia Chun, who had written articles specifically about helping people navigate sudden financial windfalls without falling into common pitfalls. Maya drafted an email to her, explaining her situation in vague terms, a substantial scholarship that she wanted to manage responsibly. She scheduled an appointment for the following week. Next, she researched medical trusts for chronically ill dependents, taking detailed notes on tax implications and optimal structures. By the time exhaustion finally forced her to bed at 3 a.m., Maya had filled pages with plans, questions, and next steps. For the first time in years, she fell asleep without the gnawing anxiety that had become her constant companion. The next 3 days passed in a blur of anticipation. Maya attended her classes with renewed focus, suddenly able to engage with the material without the distraction of financial worries clouding her thoughts. She gave notice at Bellagio's, promising to stay on for 2 more weeks to help train her replacement. Her manager Antonio expressed genuine regret at losing her. "You're one of our best, Maya. The customers request your section specifically." "I appreciate that," she replied, touched by his sincerity. "But I've received a scholarship that will allow me to focus on my studies full-time." Antonio nodded understandingly. "Law school is demanding enough without splitting your attention. You'll make an excellent attorney someday." On Monday morning, Maya checked her bank account. The funds had cleared. She stared at the balance for a long moment. $250,427.83. It was real. Her first call was to Lily's neurologist, scheduling a comprehensive evaluation and discussing treatment options they'd previously been unable to afford. The receptionist, accustomed to their careful negotiations about payments and insurance, was surprised by Maya's confident assertion that cost was no longer the primary concern. Her second call was to a real estate agent recommended by one of her professors, inquiring about wheelchair-accessible apartments in neighborhoods with good public transportation. By the end of the week, they had visited 3 potential apartments. The one they fell in love with was a 2-bedroom in a well-maintained elevator building, with wide doorways that could accommodate Lily's wheelchair on her bad days and a bathroom already fitted with support bars. The rent was triple what they currently paid, but now comfortably within their budget. "I feel like I'm dreaming," Lily said as they stood in what would be her bedroom, significantly larger than the converted closet she currently occupied. "Are we really doing this?" "We're really doing this," Maya confirmed. "I'll sign the lease tomorrow." That evening, as they packed their meager belongings in preparation for the move, Maya came across a photo of their parents. Her mother's tired smile, her father's proud stance as they stood in front of the small house they'd rented throughout Maya's childhood. "They would be proud of you," Lily said, noticing Maya's contemplative expression. "I hope so," Maya whispered. "Sometimes I wonder what they would think of all this. Mom always said money changes people. Money doesn't change who you are," Lily replied, carefully wrapping the photo in tissue paper. It just amplifies it. Selfish people become more selfish with money. Generous people become more generous. And what am I? Maya asked. Lily smiled. You're the person who gave up her dreams to take care of her sister, who worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat, who never complained, even when you had every right to. She placed the wrapped photo in a box. This money won't change you, Maya. It'll just give you the freedom to become more of who you already are. Maya felt the truth of this settle into her bones. The money wasn't changing her fundamental character. It was simply removing the barriers that had constrained her potential. For the first time, she could make choices based on what she wanted to build, not just what she needed to survive. That night, after another exhausting but productive day, Maya lay in bed thinking about Malcolm Reed's challenge. In 5 years, she would need to identify someone with untapped potential, someone constrained by circumstance rather than capability. Need to give them 20% of whatever she had built by then. The thought didn't feel like an obligation. It felt like a mission, a purpose extending beyond her own success. She would use this opportunity not just to transform her own life, but to create the capacity to transform others. As she drifted towards sleep, Maya realized she hadn't felt this sense of possibility since before her parents died, before grief and responsibility had narrowed her horizon to just getting through each day. Now that horizon had expanded again, stretching toward a future limited only by her imagination and determination. 6 months later, Maya stood at the entrance of Bellagio's dining, surveying the elegant space with a strange sense of detachment. Tonight was her last shift. Though she'd given notice months ago, Antonio had convinced her to stay on for weekend shifts through the spring semester, just until we find someone half as good as you, he'd pleaded. Maya had agreed, partly from loyalty and partly because it kept her grounded. While her life had transformed dramatically in other ways, these weekend shifts reminded her where she'd come from. Table 16 asked specifically for you, Zoe said, appearing at her elbow with a knowing smile. Your favorite regular. Maya glanced over to see Malcolm Reed seated in the same corner booth where their story had begun. He hadn't returned to the restaurant since that night 6 months ago. His presence now on her final shift couldn't be coincidence. I've got it, Maya said, smoothing her apron and making her way across the dining room. Malcolm looked up as she approached, his expression revealing nothing. M's, Winters, Mr. Reed. It's been a while. Indeed. He closed the menu without glancing at it. How have you been? Such a simple question with such a complicated answer. In 6 months, Maya and Lily had moved into their new apartment. Lily had started an experimental treatment that showed promising results. Her tremors had decreased significantly, and her energy levels had improved. Maya had established the medical trust with Sophia Chun's expert guidance, ensuring Lily's care regardless of future circumstances. Maya herself had paid her tuition through graduation and established a modest investment portfolio that was already showing returns. She'd cut back her work hours to focus on her studies and had recently accepted a prestigious summer internship with an environment law firm, a position she would have been too exhausted to even apply for in her previous life. I've been well, Maya answered simply. The usual? Please. She brought his coffee, black, and when she returned with his filet, he gestured to the empty seat across from him. Join me, just for a moment. It was highly irregular, but Maya glanced around and saw Antonio give a subtle nod of permission. She slid into the booth. I've been following your progress, Malcolm said without preamble. Maya raised an eyebrow. That sounds ominous. A hint of amusement crossed his face. Not at all. Sophia Chun is an excellent financial advisor. One of the best. You know Sophia? I sent you to her, though she doesn't know that. I've been receiving quarterly updates on your general progress, nothing specific. Just confirmation that you're making sound decisions. Maya wasn't sure whether to feel annoyed or impressed by his continued monitoring. That seems invasive. It's prudent oversight of an investment. I thought you said there were no strings attached. There aren't. The money is yours regardless of what you do with it. He took a sip of coffee. But I'm pleased to see you're using it wisely. Maya studied him, noticing the slight shadows beneath his eyes, the barely perceptible droop of his shoulders. Time had etched itself more deeply into his face since their last meeting. Why are you really here, Mr. Reed? Malcolm set down his cup. I came to tell you I'm dying, Ems. Winters. The blunt statement hit Maya like a physical blow. I'm sorry, I don't. Pancreatic cancer. Same thing that took Eleanor. Ironic, isn't it? His voice remained steady, matter of fact. The doctors give me 6 months, maybe a year with aggressive treatment, which I've declined. Maya struggled to formulate a response. I'm very sorry to hear that. I didn't tell you to elicit sympathy. I told you because it changes things. What things? Malcolm reached into his jacket and extracted a business card, sliding it across the table. It belonged to Genevieve Adler, Executive Vice President of Reed Ventures. Ms. Adler will be overseeing the dissolution of my personal assets according to my wishes. She'll be contacting you. Maya picked up the card. Why? Because I've added you to my will. The restaurant around them seemed to fade away, the ambient noise receding as Maya processed his words. That's not necessary. The money you've already given me is more than enough. This isn't about money, Malcolm said sharply. It's about legacy. Cut a precise piece of his steak, chewed thoughtfully before continuing. I built Reed Ventures from nothing, transformed failing businesses, created thousands of jobs. But when I'm gone, what remains? Wealth that will be fought over by distant relatives who never earned a penny of it. Buildings with my name that'll eventually be renamed. Charity foundations that will drift from their original purpose. His eyes locked with hers, intense and searching. But you, Maya Winters, You represent something different, a true investment in human potential. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. Mr. Reed, I appreciate what you've done for me, but I can't be responsible for your legacy. You already are. He set down his fork. The document you'll receive outlines everything. It's not just money, it's a philosophy, a way of identifying and nurturing exceptional individuals trapped by circumstance. The chain of obligation, Maya murmured, remembering his original condition. Precisely, but expanded, systematized. What I've given you is a prototype. What I'm leaving you is the blueprint. Maya's mind raced, trying to process the implications. Why me? There must be people you've known for years, people with experience. Experience is overrated. Integrity is. Malcolm took another sip of coffee. Most people I've known for years want something from me. You returned my black card unused. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Before Maya could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew her attention. A group of well-dressed business people were being seated at a large table, laughing loudly, exuding the particular confidence of the extremely wealthy. Malcolm followed her gaze. The tall man in the gray suit is Robert Chambers, hedge fund manager. Net worth approximately $1.2 billion. Last year, he fired an assistant for bringing him coffee that was too cold. Maya frowned. How do you know that? I make it my business to know things about people. Especially people with power. Malcolm's gaze hardened as he watched the group. That's the world I've lived in for 50 years, Ms. Winters. A world where wealth often correlates inversely with empathy, where power corrupts even the most well-intentioned. He turned back to her, but it doesn't have to be that way. Wealth can be a tool for transformation rather than corruption. That's the legacy I want to love, not buildings or companies, but a new model of what wealth can accomplish when placed in the right hands. Maya felt the weight of his expectations pressing down on her. Mr. Reed, I'm still figuring out how to manage my own life. I can't possibly. You won't be alone, he interrupted. Genevieve will guide you. She knows the structure I've created. He leaned forward, his voice dropping. You don't have to decide anything tonight. Think about it. When Genevieve contacts you, you'll have all the information you need. Maya realized she needed to get back to her other tables. I should go, Malcolm nodded. We're finished here. She slid out of the booth, her mind reeling, and turned back to him. Mr. Reed, Malcolm, he corrected. I think we're past formalities, don't you? Malcolm, she amended. I'm truly sorry about your diagnosis. He gave her a small, tired smile. We all die, Maya. The question is what we leave behind. Maya moved through the rest of her shift in a daze, her conversation with Malcolm replaying in her mind. When she returned to clear his table, he was gone. In his place was a generous tip and his black card. There was a note written on the check. Keep it. Buy something meaningful. Maya stared at the card, a strange déjà vu washing over her. Last time she'd returned it unused. This time felt different, not a test, but a baton being passed. She slipped the card into her pocket. After her shift ended, Maya walked home through the quiet city streets, her mind churning. The apartment she shared with Lily was a significant upgrade from their previous place clean. Spacious, with large windows and functioning appliances. Still modest by New York standards, but a sanctuary compared to what they'd endured before. Lily was still awake, curled up on the couch with a textbook. She looked up as Maya entered, immediately sensing something was wrong. What happened? She asked, setting aside her book. Maya sank onto the couch beside her sister. Malcolm Reed came to the restaurant tonight. The billionaire? What did he want? He's dying. Cancer. Maya pulled out the black card, turning it over in her fingers. And he's adding me to his will. Lily's eyes widened. What? Why? He talked about legacy, about creating a system to identify and support people with potential. Maya shook her head, still processing. He wants me to be part of it? Part of what exactly? I don't know the details yet. His lawyer is supposed to contact me. Maya leaned back, suddenly exhausted. It's too much, Lily. I'm 24 years old. I can't be responsible for some billionaire's legacy project. Lily was quiet for a moment, considering. Maybe that's the point. You're not entrenched in his world. You haven't been corrupted by wealth and power, but I don't know anything about managing the kind of money he's talking about. You've done pretty well with what he's already given you, Lily pointed out. The medical trust, the investments, the careful budgeting. You've been strategic, not extravagant, Maya sighed. That's different. That was personal. This sounds ... institutional. Lily gestured to the black card in Maya's hand. What are you going to do with that? Maya studied the sleek metal rectangle. He told me to buy something meaningful, and I think I know what that is. The next morning, Maya woke early, her mind made up. She showered, dressed in her most professional outfit, and caught the subway to an address in Chelsea she'd researched weeks ago but never had the courage to visit. The storefront was understated, no flashy signs or elaborate displays. Just a simple plaque reading Cartwright Solutions beside a frosted glass door. Maya took a deep breath and entered. A receptionist greeted her with a polite smile. Good morning. Do you have an appointment? No, but I'd like to speak with Eric Cartwright if he's available. It's regarding a business proposition. The receptionist looked skeptical but made the call. To Maya's surprise, she was ushered into a modest office where a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a wheelchair waited. Miss Winters, Eric Cartwright extended his hand. What can I do for you today? Thank you for seeing me without an appointment, Maya began, her carefully rehearsed speech momentarily forgotten as she took in the office. The walls were lined with patents and prototypes, assistive devices for people with mobility issues. "I've been researching your work for months," she continued, finding her voice. "Your adaptive technology for Ms. patients is groundbreaking, especially the neuromuscular stimulation sleep." Eric looked intrigued. "You have a background in assistive technology?" "No, my sister has, miss. She's been in the trial program for your NMS sleeve for 3 months. Recognition dawned in his eyes. "Lily Winters?" "The results have been promising in her case. They've been life-changing," Maya corrected. "Her tremors have decreased by nearly 60%. Her energy levels have stabilized. For the first time in years, she's talking about the future instead of just surviving the present." Eric nodded, a mixture of pride and weariness in his expression. "I'm glad to hear it. The trials have been successful across the board, but FDA approval is a long process, and manufacturing at scale requires capital we don't currently have. That's why I'm here." Maya placed Malcolm's black card on the desk. "I want to invest." Eric's eyebrows rose. "Investment meetings usually go through our finance department. This isn't a typical investment." Maya leaned forward. "I've spoken with other participants in the trial. The impact of your technology is transformative, not just medically, but emotionally, socially, economically. People who couldn't work can work again. People who were isolated can rejoin their communities." She tapped the card. "I want to accelerate your timeline, fund the next phase of development, and help bring this to market faster." Eric studied her, clearly puzzled. "Ms. Winters, forgive me, but according to our records, your sister is on a financial assistance program for the trial. How exactly are you in a position to invest in medical technology?" Maya had anticipated this question. "I recently came into some funds. I've been looking for the right opportunity, something meaningful, with potential for both social impact and financial return." Eric glanced at the black card, then back to Maya. "We're seeking $8 million in this funding round. That's not the kind of investment typically made with a credit card. The card is symbolic," Maya explained. "It represents a commitment from a private investor I represent." She was improvising now, but it felt right. "We're prepared to provide $2 million in initial funding, with the possibility of the full $8 million pending due diligence." Eric's expression shifted from skepticism to cautious interest. "And this investor prefers to remain anonymous for now," Maya said smoothly. "But I can have the necessary documentation and proof of funds to you by tomorrow. You understand this is highly irregular. Innovative technologies often require innovative funding approaches," Maya countered, surprising herself with her confidence. "All I ask is that you review our offer alongside your other potential investor. I believe our terms will be competitive and our commitment to your mission genuine." Eric considered her for a long moment. "I've learned not to judge potential by conventional metrics, Ms. Winters. My own journey has taught me that." He gestured to his wheelchair. "Send over your documentation. I'll give it fair consideration." Maya stood, extending her hand. "Thank you, Mr. Cartwright. You won't regret it." Walking out of Cartwright Solutions, Maya felt a strange mixture of terror and exhilaration. She had just committed to providing funds she didn't personally have. She was representing an anonymous investor who didn't exist, and yet it felt perfectly aligned with Malcolm's directive to buy something meaningful. Her phone rang as she reached the street. An unknown number. "Maya Winters." "Ms. Winters, this is Genevieve Adler, Executive Vice President at Reed Ventures. I understand Malcolm Reed spoke with you last night." "Yes, he did. I'd like to meet with you this afternoon if possible. There are matters we need to discuss." 3 hours later, Maya sat in a conference room on the 78th floor of Reed Tower, facing Genevieve Adler across a gleaming table. Genevieve was a formidable presence, impeccably dressed, with sharp features and penetrating eyes that seemed to evaluate Maya's every move. "Malcolm has briefed me on your history," Genevieve began without preamble. "The scholarship, your sister's medical situation, your law school progress. I understand you've managed the funds responsibly." Maya nodded, unsure how to respond to this clinical assessment of her life. "What Malcolm may not have mentioned is that you're not the first, Okay. There have been individuals identified by Malcolm's rather unique talent spotting system, recipients of his unconventional generosity." "He mentioned 2 others, Maya said. "His coup and European division head. Those are the success stories," Genevieve acknowledged. "There have been failures as well, people who squandered the opportunity or proved unworthy of his faith." Maya bristled slightly. "I'm not sure why you're telling me this." "Context, Ms. Winters." Genevieve opened a leather portfolio. "What Malcolm is proposing goes far beyond the initial funds he provided you. He's creating what he calls the Phoenix Initiative, a systematic approach to identifying and supporting exceptional individuals who lack the resources to reach their potential." She slid a document across the table. "This outlines the basic structure. The initiative will be funded with an initial endowment of $1 billion from Malcolm's estate. A board of trustees will oversee the endowment, while a separate selection committee will identify candidates. Each year, approximately 20 individuals will receive what we're calling Phoenix Grants tailored support packages that may include education funding, startup capital, medical care, or other resources specific to their circumstances." Maya stared at the document, overwhelmed. "And what role does Malcolm envision for me?" That depends on you. Genevieve's expression softened marginally. Malcolm believes you embody the principles he wants the initiative to represent: integrity, strategic thinking, and personal experience with the very barriers the program aims to address. I'm still in law school, Maya pointed out. I don't have the experience to run something like this. No one's asking you to run it, at least not immediate. The structure is designed to function with oversight from the board, which includes several of Malcolm's most trusted advisors, myself included. Then what exactly would I do? Initially, you would serve on the selection committee, helping identify candidates who demonstrate the potential Malcolm values. Over time, as you complete your education and gain experience, your role could evolve. Maya considered this. It sounded more manageable than what she'd feared. Not an immediate burden of managing a billion-dollar entity, but a meaningful role that could grow organically. There's one other component, Genevieve continued. A personal bequest to you of $10 million. Maya's breath caught. That's excessive. Malcolm doesn't do things in half measures, Genevieve said dry. The funds would be placed in a trust, distributed over 5 years to prevent the kind of sudden wealth syndrome that derails many recipients of unexpected fortune. I don't need that much money, Maya insisted. Consider it an investment in your own potential, separate from your role with the initiative. Malcolm believes you'll use it wisely, perhaps to establish your own environmental law practice focused on underserved communities. As you've mentioned in your academic plans, Maya felt slightly unnerved that her casual mentions of future aspirations had been cataloged and reported to Malcolm. This is a lot to process, of course. Genevieve closed her portfolio. Malcolm doesn't expect an immediate decision. Review the documents. Consider the opportunity. We'll meet again next week to address any questions. As Genevieve stood to leave, Maya remembered her morning meeting. Miss Adler, I used Malcolm's card today. Genevieve paused. For? An investment in a medical technology company developing assistive devices for MS patients. The same technology that's helping my sister. Something like approval flickered across Genevieve's face. How much? $2 million initially? Potentially more after due diligence. If Genevieve was surprised by the amount, she didn't show it. Send me the details. I'll have our team review the company's financials and structure the investment properly. Maya frowned, but it was meant to be my decision, what to buy with the card. The decision was yours, Genevieve clarified. The execution can benefit from expertise. Unless you'd prefer to navigate securities law, investment structuring, and due diligence on your own. Put it that way, Maya couldn't argue. I'll send you the information, Genevieve nodded. For what it's worth, Malcolm will be pleased with your choice. He values investments that create ripple solutions that address not just individual problems but systemic. After Genevieve left, Maya remained in the conference room, staring out at the city below. The Phoenix Initiative, $10 million, a role in selecting others for life-changing opportunities. It was overwhelming, disorienting, a responsibility she'd never sought or imagined, yet beneath the anxiety she felt a strange sense of alignment. Malcolm's vision resonated with values she'd always held, that talent was universal but opportunity was not, that systems needed to change to allow potential to flourish, that those who received should, in turn, give. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lily. How did your mysterious errand go? Maya texted back. Good. Really good, I think. I'll tell you everything tonight. She gathered the documents Genevieve had left, tucking them carefully into her bag. As she rode the elevator down, Maya found herself thinking not about the money or the position, but about who she might identify as the first recipient of a Phoenix grant. Someone trapped by circumstance rather than capability. Someone with the integrity to use the opportunity wisely. Someone who, given leverage, could create exponential returns. Someone like she had been 6 months ago, serving coffee to a solitary billionaire. 2 weeks passed in a whirlwind of meetings, documents, and decisions. The investment in Cartwright Solutions was formalized through Reed Ventures' corporate infrastructure, with Maya officially listed as the recommending partner, title she hadn't sought but found herself embracing. Eric Cartwright had been stunned when Genevieve Adler herself appeared at his office to structure the deal. But the terms Reed Ventures offered were fair and aligned with Maya's original intent, accelerating development and manufacturing of the assistive technology while ensuring it remained accessible to patients regardless of financial circumstance. Meanwhile, Maya continued her law school classes with renewed focus. Her professors had noticed the change in her. No longer exhausted from juggling multiple jobs, she was now one of the most engaged students, often staying after class to discuss applications of environmental law to underserved communities. On a crisp spring morning, Maya sat in a small cafe near campus, reviewing the Phoenix Initiative documents Genevieve had provided. She had arranged the papers in neat stacks: governance structure, financial overview, selection criteria, implementation timeline. The scope of what Malcolm was creating still overwhelmed her, but she found herself increasingly drawn to the selection process, the methodology for identifying individuals with exceptional potential trapped by circumstances. It was fascinatingly systematic, combining data analysis with human judgment, designed to find people who might never appear on conventional talent radars. Is this seat taken? Maya looked up to find Malcolm Reed standing beside her table, leaning slightly on a sleek ebony cane she hadn't seen before. He looked thinner than at their last meeting, his suit hanging a bit loose on his frame, but his eyes remained sharp and penetrating. No, please. Maya quickly gathered her papers to make space. Malcolm lowered himself carefully into the chair. I see Genevieve has provided the documentation. Yes, it's extensive. Necessarily so. Philanthropy without structure becomes charity, well-intentioned, but ultimately ineffective. He glanced at her notes. Your thoughts? Maya considered her words carefully. The selection methodology is brilliant, using alternative indicators of potential beyond traditional metrics like test scores or degrees, looking at patterns of resilience, problem-solving, and integrity in adverse circumstances. Malcolm nodded, pleased by her focus. Traditional success metrics primarily measure privilege access to resources, networks, opportunities. We needed different metrics to identify raw talent and character. I do have questions about implementation, Maya. The 20 annual recipients. How will they be supported beyond financial resources? Money alone doesn't transform lives. My own experience has shown me that guidance, networks, and psychological support are equally important. A hint of approval crossed Malcolm's face. Each recipient will be assigned a mentor from our network, someone who has navigated similar challenges. Additionally, they'll have access to educational advisors, financial planners, mental health resources. And what happens if someone fails? If they make poor decisions or can't handle the transition? That will happen, Malcolm acknowledged bluntly. Not everyone will succeed. The initiative isn't designed for a 100% success rate. That would mean our selection criteria are too conservative, that we're only choosing safe bets. He paused, taking a sip from a silver flask he extracted from his pocket. Catching Maya's glance, he added, water. Doctor's orders. Hydration is apparently crucial when your body is betraying you. Maya hesitated before asking the question that had been bothering her most. Why me, Malcolm? There must be people with more experience, more qualifications for this role. Malcolm tucked the flask away. Experience can be acquired, character cannot. That's not an answer. It's the beginning of one. He leaned forward slightly. I've built my fortune identifying overlooked potential in companies, in technologies, in people. I recognize something in you that's rare. The ability to see beyond conventional metrics of value. Maya frowned. How could you possibly know that from our brief interaction? Your first instinct upon finding my wallet was to offer to pay my bill yourself, an act of both compassion and integrity. When given unlimited financial resources via my card, you chose to return it unused, demonstrating prudence and strategic thinking. When given a second opportunity with the card, you invested in technology that could help thousands like your sister, showing vision beyond your personal needs. He tapped the table with a finger. Each decision revealed character. Each revealed how you evaluate and respond to opportunity. Maya absorbed this, unsettled by how thoroughly her actions had been analyzed. So I passed your tests. They weren't tests. They were windows. Malcolm's expression softened marginally. Windows into how you would approach the responsibility I'm entrusting to you. A question that had been nagging at Maya finally surfaced. Have you been following me since before that night at Bellagio's? How did you choose me initially? Malcolm looked mildly amused. You imagined some grand design where I selected you specifically from all possible candidates? The reality is more prosaic. I dine alone at various restaurants around the city. I observe the staff, how they handle pressure, how they treat difficult customers, how they respond to unexpected situations. He shrugged slightly. You caught my attention with your quiet efficiency and dignity under pressure. The way you handled a particularly obnoxious customer at the table next to mine with firmness, but without malice. When I later realized I'd left my wallet in the restroom, your response provided further insight. Maya felt oddly relieved that there hadn't been some elaborate scheme targeting her specifically, so it was chance. I don't believe in chance, Ms. Winters. I believe in patterns and recognition, in moments that reveal character. A server approached to take Malcolm's order. He requested tea and waited until they were alone again before continuing. I'm afraid I don't have the luxury of a gradual transition for you, he said, his voice taking on a more urgent tone. My condition is progressing faster than initially projected. Genevieve will handle most aspects of the initiative's launch, but I need you to focus on the first selection cohort. Maya felt a chill at his matter-of-fact discussion of his declining health. How can I help? I've identified 3 potential candidates for the initial Phoenix grants. I'd like you to evaluate them personally, then make the final selection. Based on what criteria? Your judgment, Malcolm said simply. The data and background files will tell you part of the story. Your instincts should tell you the rest. That's an enormous responsibility. It is. But consider it training for what comes after I'm gone. The server returned with Malcolm's tea. He thanked her with a nod before turning back to Maya. The first candidate is in Philadelphia. Darius Johnson, 32, former foster child, self-taught programmer who's developed a promising algorithm for predicting water quality issues in municipal systems. Currently working as a janitor at a tech firm because his criminal recorder, nonviolent offense at 19, prevents him from being hired as a developer. Maya nodded, already intrigued. The second is in Boston. Amara Okafor, 26, immigrant from Nigeria with a degree in biochemical engineering. Her research on sustainable pesticides shows remarkable promise, but she's working 3 jobs to support her younger siblings and can't afford lab time to develop her formulas. And the third? Maya prompted when Malcolm paused. The third is more complicated. Malcolm extracted a thumb drive from his pocket and placed it on the table. Sophia Mendez, 19, right here in New York. Brilliant mathematical mind, but currently homeless after aging out of the foster system. No formal education beyond 10th grade, but she's solved complex theoretical problems that have stumped professionally. She's also distrustful of authority and institutions after being failed by them repeatedly. Maya picked up the drive. You want me to meet with all three? Yes, spend time with them. Understand their circumstances, their potential, their character, then select one for the first phoenix. Just one? They all sound deserving. They are. But limitation creates value. Making difficult choices between worthy candidates is part of the process. It ensures we select not just need or potential, but the specific combination of factors that will maximize impact. Maya tucked the drive into her bag, her mind already mapping out how she would approach these evaluations. When do you need my decision? 3 weeks. Malcolm checked his watch. I need to go. I have a treatment scheduled. He began to rise, leaning heavily on his cane. Without thinking, Maya stood and offered her arm for support. Malcolm hesitated for just a moment before accepting, allowing her to steady him as he got to his feet. Thank you, he said, a hint of vulnerability breaking through his composed exterior. Of course. Maya hesitated, then added, how are you really doing, Malcolm? He met her gaze directly. I'm dying, Maya, more rapidly and painfully than I'd prefer, but I've made my peace with it. Eleanor's waiting. The mention of his wife brought a softness to his expression she'd never seen before. I'm sorry, don't be. Death is the great equalizer, the one experience billionaires and waitresses share equally. He straightened, his businessman's mask sliding back into place. Keep me updated on your progress with the candidates. I'd like to know your decision before ... single quotes. He let the sentence hang unfinished. I will, Maya promised, as Malcolm walked away, moving carefully but with dignity. Maya realized she was witnessing the final act of a man who had spent his life building, a man now focused on ensuring his last construction would outlast him. She spent the remainder of the day reviewing the files on the thumb drive. Each candidate's story was compelling in different ways. Darius Johnson's persistence despite systemic barriers, Amar Okafor's brilliance and sacrifice for her family, Sofia Mendez's raw, untamed talent despite profound instability. How could she possibly choose just one? That evening, Maya explained the situation to Lily over dinner in their apartment. So he's essentially asking you to play God with these people's lives, Lily observed, twirling pasta on her fork. The tremors in her hand were noticeably reduced, a testament to the effectiveness of Cartwright's tech. That's a bit dramatic, Maya count. I'm not determining their entire futures, just who receives this particular opportunity. A life-changing opportunity, Lily pointed out, one that completely transformed our lives in just 6 months. Maya couldn't argue with that. Their circumstances had indeed undergone a remarkable metamorphosis, from constant financial anxiety to stability, from Lily's deteriorating health to improved prognosis, from Maya's exhaustion to renewed focus and purpose. How would you choose? Maya asked. Lily considered this. I'd look beyond the obvious metrics of potential or need. I'd try to understand who would not only benefit personally, but create the most positive ripple effects. Ripple effect, Maya repeated, remembering Genevieve's comment about Malcolm valuing investments that created ripples. That's actually brilliant, Lily. I have my moments, Lily smiled. So what's your plan? I need to meet them, really understand not just their circumstances or achievements, but who they are as people, how they think, what drives them, and how they might pay it forward, Lily added. That seems to be a core value of this Phoenix thing. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of the responsibility Malcolm had placed on her shoulders. These weren't just files or statistics. They were real people with dreams, struggles, and potential that could be unlocked with the right resources. I'll start with Sofia, she decided. She's here in the city, and honestly, her situation seems the most urgent. The homeless math prodigy? Yes. According to Malcolm's file, she's been staying at various shelters but refuses more permanent assistance because of bad experiences in the system. Lily watched her sister with a mixture of pride and concern. You know, 6 months ago you were serving coffee to billionaires. Now you're evaluating candidates for life-changing grants on behalf of one of those billionaires. Life is weird. Maya laughed softly. Weird doesn't begin to cover it. She gathered the files, organizing them methodically. But I keep thinking, what if someone had identified mom or dad's potential, given them the resources to pursue education or start a business? How different might our lives have been? You can't change the past, Lily reminded her gently. No, Maya agreed, but maybe I can help change someone else's future. Finding Sofia Mendez proved more challenging than Maya had anticipated. The address listed in Malcolm's Fila youth shelter in the Bronx was outdated. Sofia hadn't stayed there in weeks. She comes and goes, the shelter coordinator explained. Smart girl, but trust issues a mile wide. Can't blame her after what the system put her through. Maya left her contact information and spent the next 3 days visiting other shelters across the city. On the 4th day, she received a text from an unknown number. Heard you're looking for me. Why? After a brief exchange, Sofia agreed to meet at a public library in Washington Heights neutral territory, where she felt safe. Maya arrived early, securing a quiet table in the corner of the reading room. At precisely noon, a young woman approached, small and wiry, with sharp eyes that seemed to calculate everything around her. She wore layers of mismatched but clean clothes, her dark hair pulled back in a tight braid. "You're the lady with the money," Sophia said without preamble, sliding into the chair across from Maya. "I'm Maya Winters." "Same thing," Sophia countered. "Nobody looks for me unless they want something or are offering something. Which one are you?" Maya appreciated the direct approach. "Both, actually. I'm representing the Phoenix Initiative, a new program that identifies individuals with exceptional potential who face significant barriers." Sophia's expression remained skeptical. "And how exactly did I end up on your radar?" "Your mathematical solutions to the Hoffman conjectures caught the attention of several academics who forwarded your work to our research." A flicker of surprise crossed Sophia's face. "Those were just problems I found online. I posted the solutions anonymously." "Not anonymously enough, apparently," Maya said with a small smile. "IP addresses can be traced." Sophia's posture tensed. "So you're stalking me?" "No. We identified someone with remarkable talent who deserves resources and opportunity. What do you want in return?" "For you to develop your talent, to get the education and stability you need to pursue your potential." Sophia studied Maya, her gaze penetrating. "What's your angle here? Nobody just hands out opportunities without expecting something back." Maya considered how to explain. "The founder of this initiative believes talent is universal, but opportunity isn't. He wants to change that equation." "Rich guy with a guilt complex? Dying man with a vision for legacy," Maya corrected. "And yes, he's wealthy." Sophia seemed to relax marginally. "So what exactly are you offering?" Maya outlined the Phoenix Grant educational support, housing, mentorship, and a stipend. She explained how Sophia could design her own educational path, whether traditional university or alternative learning program. "And if I say no?" Sophia asked. "Then you say no," Maya replied simply. "This isn't an ultimatum or a one-time offer. The invitation remains open." Sophia looked genuinely surprised. "Most people treat homelessness like an emergency that needs immediate fixing on their terms. I know what it's like to have decisions made for you by people who think they know better," Maya said. "This is about giving you choices, not taking them away." They talked for another hour. Maya learned that despite dropping out in 10th grade, Sophia had been teaching herself advanced mathematics using library computers and borrowed textbooks. She solved complex problems for the sheer satisfaction of unraveling them, posting solutions online under different pseudonyms. "Numbers make sense," Sophia explained, her voice softening for the first time. "People lie, systems fail, but mathematics is pure, consistent, beautiful." As they parted, Maya handed Sophia a prepaid phone. "To contact me when you're ready to talk more. No tracking, no strings, just a way to reach me." Sophia hesitated before accepting it. "I'll think about it." The next day, Maya flew to Philadelphia to meet Darius Johnson. She found him in the early morning, mopping floors at Nexus Technologies, a mid-sized software development company. Unlike Sophia's wariness, Darius was immediately open. A tall man with an easy smile that belied the challenges detailed in his file. He seemed surprised but pleased that someone wanted to discuss his water quality algorithm. "Most people don't care about predictive maintenance for water systems," he said as they sat in a cafe during his break. "Not sexy enough for venture capital, too complex for municipal budgets." Maya was impressed by his passion and technical knowledge. The algorithm could save communities millions in preventative costs and potentially prevent contamination crises. Darius nodded. "That's the whole point. I grew up in Flint, Michigan. Saw firsthand what happens when water infrastructure fails and nobody's paying attention. Yet you can't get developers to pay attention." His expression hardened slightly. "Can't get past the background check. One mistake at 19 participating in a protest that turned violent and doors closed forever. I've got the skills, but nobody will take a chance on me." "The Phoenix Initiative would," Maya said, explaining the grant. Darius listened intently, asking thoughtful questions about implementation, ownership of his intellectual property, and long-term support. "This sounds too good to be true," he finally said. "It's not charity," Maya clarified. "It's an investment in potential yours and your technologies." "And what does this mystery billionaire get out of it?" The satisfaction of changing systems that trap talent, and the expectation that when you succeed, you'll help others do the same." Darius nodded slowly. "Pay it forward model. I like that." When Maya left Philadelphia, she felt Darius was a strong candidate, focused, resilient, with a clear vision for how his work could impact communities like the one he came from. Boston and Amara Okafor presented yet another dimension. Maya found her in a university laboratory where she had permission to work during off hours when the regular researchers were gone. Amara was meticulous and formal, her lab coat pristine, her notebooks organized with military precision. Born in Nigeria and educated in the USC, on a partial scholarship, she was supporting 3 younger siblings while trying to develop sustainable pesticides that could work in developing regions. "Chemical pesticides are destroying ecosystems and harming farmers in my home country," she explained, showing Maya her research. "My formulations use locally available plant compounds that are effective but break down naturally without toxic residue. Why hasn't this been developed commercially?" Maya asked, genuinely curious. Amara's expression tightened. "I've approached several agricultural companies. They're interested in the science but want to patent it for premium markets. I refuse to create another technology technology that my own people can't afford. Maya was struck by Amara's unwavering principles and the personal sacrifice she was making. Working as a lab technician by day, a restaurant server by evening, and a rideshare driver on weekends, all while conducting research in borrowed lab time and caring for her siblings. When Maya explained the Phoenix grant, Amara's reaction was measured. What control would I maintain over my research? Complete control, Maya assured her. The grant provides resources without claiming ownership. Your work remains yours. By the time Maya returned to New York, she felt the weight of the decision before her. Each candidate was exceptional in different ways. She faced barriers that the Phoenix grant could help overcome. Each represented the kind of potential Malcolm believed in nurturing. How could she possibly choose just one? She created a detailed matrix comparing factors: immediate need, long-term potential, barriers faced, ripple effects of their work. She consulted with Lily, who offered valuable perspective without trying to influence the decision. A week into her deliberations, Maya received an unexpected text from Sophia. Still thinking about your offer. Can we talk again? They met at the same library. Sophia looked more rested but no less guarded. I have questions, she said, about how this would actually work, about what happens if I want to quit. Maya answered each question honestly, emphasizing the autonomy Sophia would maintain. The resources are tools, not handcuffs. You direct your path. Sophia pulled out a notebook filled with dense equations. I've been working on this. It's an extension of the Hoffman solution potential applications in quantum computing. Maya didn't understand the mathematics, but she recognized the significance. This is what the grant could support, giving you the resources to develop this work without worrying about where you'll sleep or what you'll eat. Sophia studied Maya intently. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone condescending. Someone who would try to fix me without understanding me. Maya smiled slightly. I've been on the receiving end of those types. I try not to become one. As they parted, Sophia asked a question that caught Maya off guard. There are others being considered, aren't there? Yes, Maya admitted. How did you know? The way you talk about the program, it's selective, not universal, which means I'm being evaluated against others. Sophia's gaze was direct. What are my chances? I don't know yet, Maya replied honestly. The decision is still being made. Sophia nodded, seemingly appreciating the honesty. Fair enough, but if you pick me, I want to know why. Not just that I qualified, but why me over someone else? I need to understand the value calculation. After 3 weeks of interviews, analysis, and deliberation, Maya scheduled a meeting with Malcolm at his penthouse. His condition had visibly deteriorated, his face gaunt, his movements more labored, yet his mind remained sharp as ever. You've reached a decision? He asked as Maya sat across from him in his living room, the city lights twinkling below. Yes, Maya answered, but I'd like to propose an alternative approach. Malcolm regarded Maya with interest, his frail hands folded in his lap. An alternative approach? I'm listening. Maya took a deep breath. I can't choose just one of them, Malcolm. Each candidate represents different facets of what the Phoenix Initiative aims to accomplish. Selecting only one would be unnecessarily limiting the impact we could have. Malcolm's expression remained neutral. The limitation was deliberate. Resources are always finite, even for billionaires. Learning to make difficult choices between worthy options is part of the process. I understand that, Maya acknowledged. But what if the most strategic use of resources isn't to choose between them, but to find a way to support all three with modifications? She opened her laptop and turned it toward Malcolm. On the screen was a detailed proposal she had spent days refining. Darius Johnson's water quality algorithm has immediate practical applications, but he lacks the platform and credibility to implement it. Amara Okafor's sustainable pesticide research could transform agricultural practices in developing nations, but she needs lab resources and time. Sophia Mendez's mathematical brilliance could advance quantum computing theory, but she requires stability and formal education. Maya pointed to her proposal. Instead of giving one person the full grant amount, we could allocate resources proportionally based on specific needs. Sophia needs housing, security, and educational opportunities above all. Darius needs seed funding and a legal team to protect his intellectual property. Amara needs lab space and support for her siblings. Malcolm studied the proposal, his eyes moving methodically across the screen. You're suggesting we divide the resources among all three? Not equally, but strategically, Maya clarified, based on individual needs and potential impact, and with one additional component: connection. These three individuals working in isolation are brilliant, but if we create opportunities for collaboration, the potential multiplies. Malcolm looked up at her, a glimmer of intrigue in his tired eyes. Elaborate. Darius's water quality algorithm could integrate with Amara's research on pesticide runoff and water systems. Sophia's mathematical modeling could help both of them optimize their work. They each bring different perspectives, different skills, but their work could be complementary. Maya leaned forward, her voice gaining confidence. The Phoenix Initiative isn't just about removing barriers for talented individuals. It's about changing systems. What if we foster connections between grant recipients? Create a network of innovators who can amplify each other's impact? Malcolm was silent for a long moment, his gaze now directed out at the city skyline. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft but clear. You're proposing a fundamental shift in the initiative's structure. Yes, Maya admitted, but one that aligns with its core purpose, maximizing human potential and creating ripple effects. And how would would you measure success in this model? Without direct comparison between recipients, how would you know if the resources were allocated effectively? By measuring impact rather than individual achievement, Maya replied. How many communities benefit from improved water quality monitoring? How many farmers gain access to sustainable pesticides? How does Sophia's mathematical work advance computational theory? These are measurable outcomes that extend beyond personal success stories. Malcolm closed his eyes briefly, his breath slightly labored. When he opened them again, they held a mixture of weariness and intensity. You know why I insisted you select only one candidate, he asked. Maya shook her head. Because that's how the world works. Resources are limited. Opportunities are scarce. Those with power must make hard choices about who receives them. His voice took on a bitter edge. I've spent my life in boardrooms where the fate of thousands was decided by quarterly profit margins. I've chosen which companies to save and which to let fail, which innovations to fund and which to abandon. He fixed her with a penetrating look. I wanted you to understand the weight of those decisions, the responsibility that comes with allocating resources that can transform lives. I do understand it, Maya said quietly. That's exactly why I'm proposing this alternative, because I refuse to accept that artificial scarcity is inevitable or necessary. Malcolm raised an eyebrow. Artificial scarcity? Yes, the Phoenix Initiative has an endowment of $1 billion. The standard grant package is approximately $250,000 per recipient. Mathematics says we could support 4,000 individuals over time. Yet you asked me to choose just one of 3 exceptional candidates. That's not true scarcity, it's manufactured scarcity. For the first time since Maya had known him, Malcolm Reed laughed, a genuine sound that briefly transformed his gaunt face, revealing the man he must have been before illness took its toll. Eleanor would have liked you, he said when the laughter subsided. She always challenged my assumptions too. He motioned for Maya to help him stand, and they moved slowly to his desk, where he lowered himself carefully into a chair and pulled a leather-bound journal from a drawer. Do you know the origin of the name Phoenix Initiative? He asked, opening the journal to reveal elegant handwriting that wasn't his own. The mythological bird that rises from its own ashes, Maya replied, a symbol of rebirth and renewal. That's the common interpretation, yes. But Eleanor saw something deeper in the myth. He ran his finger along the written words. The phoenix doesn't just rise from its own ashes, it cyclically combusts and regenerates. It's a symbol of transformation through necessary destruction, of letting go of what was to become what could be. He looked up at Maya. Your proposal would require dismantling the selection structure I've spent months designing. Yes, Maya acknowledged, but in service of the initiative's greater purpose. Malcolm nodded slowly. Sometimes we become so attached to our vision of how change should occur that we resist the very transformation we seek to create. He closed the journal. Implement your proposal, Maya. Fund all 3 candidates using your modified structure. Relief washed over her. Thank you, don't thank me. This is your first executive decision as the incoming director of the Phoenix Initiative. Maya stared at him, stunned. Director? But Genevieve will oversee the endowment and governance structure as planned, but you will direct the selection and implementation programs. He held up a hand to forestall her objection. Not immediately. You'll finish law school first, with Genevieve handling operations until you're ready to step in. But this has always been the plan. You never mentioned this position in our previous discussions, Maya said, struggling to process this new development, because I needed to see how you would handle this first challenge, whether you would follow instructions or find a better path, whether you would choose the easy answer or the courageous one. He turned his computer screen to show her a document, her employment contract. Already prepared with a starting salary that made her breath catch. This was a test too, she realized. Everything is a test, Maya. Life is a series of moments that reveal who we are and what we value. He pushed the contract toward her. You've revealed yourself to be exactly who I believed you, someone who sees beyond conventional constraints. Who finds ways to expand possibility rather than accept artificial limitations. Maya looked from the contract to Malcolm, seeing both the frail, dying man and the visionary businessman who had built an empire. Why are you really doing all this, Malcolm? The initiative, the grants, grooming me for this role? What do you truly hope to accomplish? Malcolm was quiet for a moment, his gaze distant. I spent decades accumulating wealth and power, building, acquiring, expanding. I told myself it was about creating value, generating jobs, driving innovation. He smiled faintly. But in the end, what have I truly built that will outlast me? Companies that will be sold, buildings that will be renamed, wealth that will be fought over. He looked directly at Maya. What I'm trying to build now is different. A legacy not of concrete and steel, but of human potential unleashed. A system that identifies exceptional individuals trapped by circumstance and gives them the leverage to transform not just their own lives, but the world around them. And you believe I can help build that? I know you can, because you lived it. He gestured to the contract. You don't need to decide immediately. Review the terms, consider the commitment. Maya nodded. still processing the magnitude of what Malcolm was offering, not just a job, but stewardship of his final vision, a responsibility to carry forward the transformation of lives and systems long after he was gone. "I'll do it," she said, the words emerging with certainty despite her racing thoughts. "But I want to make one addition to the contract." Malcolm raised an eyebrow. "Which is a requirement that 20% of my own salary goes into a personal fund dedicated to identifying and supporting individuals who might not meet the formal criteria for Phoenix grants, but who still deserve an opportunity. My own mini initiative alongside the larger one." A smile of genuine approval spread across Malcolm's face. "Paying it forward in your own way. Yes, I think we can add that clause." 1 year later, Maya stood at the podium looking out over the gathered crowd in the Reed Foundation auditorium. The space was filled with journalists, business leaders, philanthropists, and most importantly, the first cohort of Phoenix grant recipients. In the front row sat Lily, beaming with pride. Her wheelchair now a sleek, customized model enhanced with Cartwright Solutions' latest technology. Beside her was Genevieve Adler, as formidable as ever in her tailored suit, but with a new softness around her eyes that had emerged in the months since Malcolm's passing. Sophia, Darius, and Amara occupied the next row, the first 3 recipients, whose progress over the past year had exceeded even Maya's optimistic projections. Sophia had obtained her GED and was now studying advanced mathematics at MIT, while consulting on Darius's water quality project. Darius had secured patents for his algorithm and established pilot programs in 3 mid-sized cities, with promising early results. Amara had published her research on sustainable pesticides and was preparing for field trials in Nigeria, using local labor and resources. Behind them sat the 17 additional recipients from the expanded first cohort, each with their own remarkable story of potential unlocked by opportunity. Maya smoothed the lapel of her blazer, not an expensive designer piece, but well-made and professional, and began her address. 1 year ago today, the Phoenix Initiative was officially launched with a simple but powerful premise: talent is universal, but opportunity is not. Our mission was to identify exceptional individuals trapped by circumstance rather than capability and provide them with the leverage to transform not just their own lives but the systems around them. She paused, remembering Malcolm's last days. He had declined rapidly after their meeting about the candidates, but had lived long enough to see the modified initiative take shape. His final weeks were spent reviewing profiles of additional candidates, approving Maya's expanded selection methodology, and refining the governance structure to ensure his vision would endure beyond his lifetime. Our founder, Malcolm Reed, passed away 6 months ago, Maya continued, but his legacy lives on through each person in this room who has been given the opportunity to fulfill their potential, and through the ripple effects that are already extending far beyond our initial 20 recipients. She gestured to a large screen behind her, where a map displayed interconnected nodes representing the projects and initiatives that had emerged from the first cohort. Darius Johnson's water quality monitoring system is now being implemented in 3 cities, with projected savings of millions in preventative maintenance and early detection of potential contamination issues. Amara Okafor's sustainable pesticide research has created 15 jobs in her home community in Nigeria and promises to reduce chemical exposure for thousands of farmers. Sophia Mendez's mathematical models are being applied to optimize both these projects, while her theoretical work advances our understanding of quantum computing applications. Maya advanced the slide to show more connections forming between the project. But what's most remarkable isn't what each individual has accomplished, it's what they've accomplished together. We didn't just remove barriers for 20 talented people, we created connections between them, fostering a network where ideas, skills, and perspectives could combine in ways none of us could have predicted. The screen displayed photographs of recipients collaborating: Darius and another grant recipient, a civil engineer named Tomas, working with municipal officials; Sophia and a fellow mathematician named Hiro, presenting their research; Amara training local women to produce her pesticide formulations. This is the true power of the Phoenix Initiative, not just individual success stories, but a growing ecosystem of innovation and impact. A community of exceptional individuals who lift each other up, who challenge and support each other, who create opportunities for others beyond themselves. Maya clicked to the final slide, a simple phoenix emblem with the words "Apply it forward" beneath. Today, I'm proud to announce the next phase of the initiative. Each of our first 20 recipients has identified another individual with extraordinary potential who faces significant barriers. These nominees will form our second cohort, continuing the chain of obligation that Malcolm Reed envisioned, where those who receive opportunity are empowered to extend it to others. As applause filled the auditorium, Maya felt a bittersweet pang. Malcolm should have been here to see this, to witness his vision taking root and growing beyond what even he had imagined. After the presentation, as the attendees mingled during the reception, Maya found herself standing before the portrait of Malcolm that hung in the foundation's entryway. The artist had captured his piercing gaze and the hint of a challenging smile that seemed to ask, "What will you build?" He was would be pleased, Genevieve said, appearing beside her. Not satisfied, Malcolm was never satisfied, but pleased. Maya nodded. The structure is working better than we projected. The collaborative approach is yielding unexpected innovation. And you? Genevieve asked. How are you finding the role of director? Challenging, humbling, occasionally overwhelming. Maya smiled, but exactly where I'm meant to be. She had graduated law school 3 months ago, completing her degree with honors despite the demands of her growing responsibilities with the initiative. Malcolm's contract had included a clause allowing her to establish a small environmental law practice alongside her director role, another way he had recognized what truly mattered to her. Any regrets about the path you've chosen? Genevieve asked, her tone casual but her gaze sharp. Maya considered the question seriously. Her life had transformed so completely from that night at Bellagio's that sometimes it felt like a dream. The waitress who had once counted every dollar now oversaw a program distributing millions. The student who had struggled to balance work and studies now shaped the educational paths of others. The sister who had feared for Lily's future now watched her thrive with proper care and support. No regrets, she answered honestly, but a constant awareness of the responsibility. Every decision affects real lives. Genevieve nodded approvingly. That awareness is what Malcolm saw in you from the beginning. The recognition that power and resources aren't just tools for personal advancement, but vehicles for systemic change. Their conversation was interrupted by Sophia, who approached with characteristic directness. Miss Adler, I need to discuss the patent application process for my latest algorithm, she said without preamble. The university wants joint ownership, but the work was developed using Phoenix resources. Genevieve raised an eyebrow at Maya. I believe this falls under your domain, Director Winters. Maya nodded. Let's discuss it tomorrow, Sophia. I'll review the agreement and help you navigate the intellectual property aspects. Sophia seemed satisfied. As she turned to leave, she paused. The candidate I recommended for the second cohort, Tanya, her interview is scheduled for next week? Yes. With me personally, Maya confirmed. Sophia fixed her with that calculating gaze that had become familiar over the past year. She's brilliant. Different from me, more practical, less theoretical, but brilliant in her way. She just needs someone to see her potential beyond her circumstances. Just like you did, Maya said softly. A rare smile crossed Sophia's face. Just like you did. As Sophia walked away to join a discussion between Darius and several municipal officials, Maya felt a sense of completion. The circle was beginning to close. Those who had received opportunity were now extending it to others, just as Malcolm had envisioned. Later that evening, as the event wound down, Maya found herself alone in Malcolm's former office, now hers. The space still held echoes of his presence, though she had gradually made it her own, replacing some of the austere modern art with photographs of Phoenix recipients and their projects, adding plants that softened the sleek lines of the furniture. On the desk sat a small velvet box that had arrived that morning with a note from Genevieve, to be opened after the anniversary event. From Malcolm, Maya opened it now, finding inside a black card, not Malcolm's credit card, but a new one issued in her name. Beneath it was a handwritten note in Malcolm's increasingly shaky script from his final days. Maya, if you're reading this, our experiment has survived its crucial first year. The Phoenix is rising, though I am not there to witness its flight. This card represents the final test between us. No instructions, no conditions, no oversight. Simply an opportunity to use or ignore, to leverage or waste. Whatever you choose will be right, because it will be your choice, not mine. My time for decisions has ended. Yours continues. Malcolm Reed. Maya turned the card over in her hands, feeling its substantial weight. The black card that had started everything, a symbol of unlimited potential, of choices that revealed character, of opportunities that transformed lives. She thought about how far she had come from that rainy night at Bellagio's when she'd offered to cover a stranger's bill. How a simple act of integrity had unlocked a door she hadn't known existed. How Malcolm had seen something in her that she hadn't fully recognized in herself. Maya opened her desk drawer and placed the card inside, next to another item she kept as a reminder of her journey, her old Bellagio's name tag. From waitress to director, from struggling student to architect of opportunity, from someone trapped by circumstance to someone who helped others break free of similar traps. The contrast between these two objects, the humble name tag and the exclusive black card, embodied the bridge she now represented. Someone who understood both worlds and could translate between them. Someone who could identify potential precisely because she had once been overlooked. As Maya left the office that evening, she paused at the window overlooking the city, the same view Malcolm had contemplated during their first meeting. Lights twinkled across the urban landscape, each representing a home, a life, a story. How many brilliant minds were out there, constrained not by capability but by circumstance? How many could transform their communities, their fields, perhaps even the world, if given the right leverage at the right moment? The Phoenix Initiative couldn't reach them all, but it could create ripples, expanding circles of opportunity that might eventually touch shores far beyond their origin point. That was Malcolm's true legacy, not buildings or billions, but a self-perpetuating system of human potential, unlocked and empowered to unlock others. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Dinner? I'm starving after all that fancy reception food. She smiled and replied, meet you at the corner diner in 20. Some things had changed dramatically in the past year, but others remained comfortingly constant. like her sister's appetite for real food after formal events, and their shared appreciation for the unpretentious diners where Maya had once worked. As she rode the elevator down to the lobby, Maya reflected on Malcolm's final note: "Whatever you choose will be right, because it will be your choice, not mine." It was the ultimate expression of trust, not just in her judgment, but in her character. Not just in what she would do with the opportunities he had given her, but in what she would create for others. The black card would remain in her desk drawer for now, unused but not forgotten. A reminder that true wealth wasn't measured in spending power, but in the ability to create opportunity, to say to someone struggling against invisible barriers, "Here, take this and build something meaningful." Maya stepped out into the cool evening air, her path illuminated by the city lights. Behind her stood the legacy of a billionaire who had recognized potential where others saw only circumstance. Before her stretched a future filled with lives transformed, systems challenged, and opportunities multiplied. The phoenix was rising, just as Malcolm had envisioned, and Maya Winters, once a waitress returning a forgotten wallet, now carried the torch of that vision forward, not just for herself, but for all those waiting to be seen, to be valued, to be given the leverage they needed to soar.